Over the last 10 years, I've managed millions of pounds of meta ad spend. And what if everything we've been told about running meta ads for e-commerce is wrong, fundamentally flawed? Then assumptions, growth-based business decisions are all based on a flawed foundation and are destined to collapse. Like you wouldn't measure speed with a thermometer, would you? Because any conclusions based around speed on those thermometer metrics would not make sense. Well, that's how most e-commerce-based businesses are running meta ads right now. They're looking at fundamentally the wrong metrics to answer the wrong questions. So many businesses are trying to answer too many questions poorly, where what you want to do is answer a few questions extremely well. This isn't a tutorial on what buttons to click. This is a framework with how to think. Because once you know how to think and have an operating system for that, the buttons become obvious. If you're currently under 500K a month in your Shopify store, then I can tell you this whole multi-billion-dollar industry boils down to just two questions. One, are my ads profitable? And two, can I spend more? That's it. That's the entire game. So before we go further, we're going to burn the old rulebook. We're going to systematically dismantle every broken metric that you've been taught to worship. And then I'm going to give you the core metrics which will change the way you run your meta ads forever. I'm going to give you the complete operating system with how I run profitable meta ads. Not theory, not some shit some bro took off some Twitter thread. The actual systems I use with real clients and real money on the line. By the end of this video, you'll have a live campaign, but more importantly, you'll have a framework that separates the 1% of businesses that make money with meta ads from the 99% who burn through cash. Let's get into it. Before we go into Ads Manager, we touch the creative, the targeting, the setup, all that good. Can we agree on a few basics? Because if we fuck this up, everything we build on top is going to be mega fucked. So can we agree that the purpose of running an ad is to generate profit in the bank? Not likes, not views, not engagement, profit. Every pound or dollar of ad spend needs to justify itself with profit, especially if you're under 500K per month. Can we agree on that? Good. And can we agree if we're looking at the wrong data to judge whether an ad is working, then every single assumption and decision based on that will be flawed by definition? Good. So we agree, profit per purchase is what matters. If the only reason to run an ad is profit, then any metric used to optimize ads must answer two things. Did this spend create profit? And if yes, how much profit per unit of spend? That means a valid optimization metric must include revenue, ad spend, minus cost of goods sold, minus fulfillment and variable costs. Because that's literally what profit is, math. And if a metric doesn't contain all four of those components, then it cannot measure profitability. And if you cannot measure profitability, you cannot work out if your ads are working. And then if you can't work out if your ads are working, then how do you optimize? It's mainly guesswork, right? Return on average ad spend. It contains revenue, it contains ad spend. It doesn't contain cost of goods sold, it doesn't contain fulfillment costs. ROAS cannot tell you profitability. It fails. Customer acquisition cost, or CAC. CAC contains ad spend, doesn't tell you revenue, doesn't tell you cost of goods sold, doesn't include margin or fulfillment costs. CAC cannot measure profit. It fails. Marketing efficiency ratio, total revenue divided by ad spend. Still no fulfillment costs, still no cost of goods sold. Again, cannot tell you profitability. Lifetime value to customer acquisition cost ratio, or LTV to CAC ratio. Lifetime revenue divided by customer acquisition cost. Still no cost of goods sold, still no fulfillment costs, usually based on future behavior and doesn't take into account cash collected. So, fails. So here is the unavoidable conclusion. Every mainstream metric used to optimize ads fails the basic requirement to optimize ads. They do not measure profit, which means businesses don't know whether their ads are profitable. They think they do, they hope they do, they have a colorful dashboard full of numbers that makes them feel productive, but they don't. And if you don't know whether your ads are profitable, how do you optimize? You can only experiment blindly. And that's the root cause why meta ads feel unpredictable. Not the algorithm, not the iOS, not creative fatigue, wrong measurement, and wrong objective. So therefore, everything you build on top becomes structurally unsound. So when you say, I feel like performance is off, I feel like we need new creative. I think meta's broken. You don't have a meta problem, you have a measurement problem. And a measurement problem creates decision problems. So the only two questions you need to answer are my ads profitable and can I spend more? If you can't answer those two questions with real numbers, you're guessing. And guessing with ad spend is how you go broke. If right now your answer to are my ads profitable is I think so, I feel like they are, this question is binary. It's based on unit economics and data. It's either yes or fucking no. Which one is it? And if you can't answer that, then you have a measurement problem. So many people try and answer the wrong questions with the wrong metrics, and this is where the fucking problems happen. This creates uncertainty. This creates emotional decision making. That's what creates unpredictability. And without predictability, it's very hard to scale. So logically, none of these mainstream metrics used to optimize ads can tell you whether they are profitable. And let me just show you what this actually looks like in a real world setting. Firstly, ROAS, return on ad spend. Agencies fucking love ROAS. Now let's break it down and tear ROAS a new one. ROAS, revenue from ads divided by spend. If we spend $10 and get a $40 sale, that's a 4x ROAS. Yay. It's simple, it's there in your meta dashboard, it's simple to see, but it's also one of the most dangerous metrics you have in your ad account. It shows you which ads took credit for the sale. And don't get me wrong, when I first started out, I used to obsess over ROAS. But when you're trying to answer the question, are our ads profitable with ROAS, you're going to fail because ROAS is a revenue metric, not a profitability metric. Ads with the highest ROAS are typically your retargeting ads. They're the ones that sit more downstream and take credit for the sale. So think of your ads like a football team. You have your defenders, they're kind of like going out to your cold audiences. Then you have your midfielders, they're kind of more your kind of educational content, pushing down kind of more middle of funnel. Then you have your retargeting ads. They're the ones who are closing the deals and getting people over the line. But what happens when you only celebrate the striker and you fire midfield and you fire your defenders for not scoring? Suddenly your striker has no one to pass on the ball or set up those goals. Your funnel is starved and your business dies and your team loses. ROAS incentivizes you to turn off the very ads that could be the reason that the striker is scoring all the goals. And that's literally how I used to optimize ads. Look at the ones with the highest ROAS, turn the ones off the lowest ROAS, try and scale the ones with the highest ROAS. But typically what happens, you put the budget on, you try and scale it, it does okay for a few days, then it drops off a cliff. And then you're back to square one, on the little hamster wheel, creating new content, trying to fill that creative gap that you've just created for yourself. It's like sending Cristiano Ronaldo to a tournament on his own, saying, crack on, go play. He does okay because he's Cristiano Ronaldo. But he gets fucking tired. He's got no one to pass on the ball. He's running around like crazy. He gets tired as fuck because you can't scale retargeting ads. You've literally choked out your own funnel. It's a vanity metric that looks good while your business dies out. And it gets worse. It ignores cost of goods sold completely. A 4x ROAS on a 90% margin product looks fantastic. A 4x ROAS on a 10% margin product, you're literally losing money every single purchase. Same ROAS, totally different story. So ROAS, in short, incentivizes you to turn off the wrong ads and ignores the economics of a sale. Double whammy, double shitter. Then people say, okay, let's use customer acquisition cost or CAC. And they go, all right, our CAC target is £18. Fantastic. Where did that number come from? Seriously. Did you calculate it from contribution margin? Did you work out your break-even cost per acquisition? Or did you decide how much profit you want per order and work backwards? Or did someone just pick a number that felt just about right? Because most of the time, CAC numbers are made up. Someone in a meeting said, £18 CAC feels about right. Now the entire business is being judged on a number that has no mathematical foundation. That's not strategy, that's a guess wearing a suit. Firstly, you work out your contribution margin, your average order value minus cost of goods sold. Then that would tell you, in pounds or whatever currency you're using, how much gross profit you have available per order. That number becomes your break-even cost per acquisition. Not a target, a ceiling. It becomes literally the maximum you can spend to acquire a customer and not lose money. Only after that ceiling is derived, then you work out how much profit do you want to make per order. Then your target CAC equals break-even CPA minus desired profit. Now CAC actually means something and is grounded in reality. Because CAC is not the goal. CAC is a constraint. Below it, you're printing money. Above it, you're bleeding out. Same CAC number, completely different outcome. And this is where people blow themselves up. And they go, okay, CAC is above our target. Turn off the ads. Even if those ads are producing $10, $15, $25 more revenue than they cost, they shut down a working machine because it violates a number that they invented. That's insane. You don't choose a CAC target first. You derive it from unit economics. You derive it from contribution margin. You derive it from math. So then people say, okay, well, if ROAS is broken and CAC is arbitrary, let's zoom out and look at marketing efficiency ratio, or MER, which is total revenue divided by total ad spend. It sounds sophisticated, but here's the problem. It's like throwing a steak, a broccoli, some bananas, some tomato puree in a blender, blending it all up, pouring it in a glass, and then going, hey, there you go. That's your nutrition score. What does that even mean? I mean, you can't taste the steak, you can't taste the broccoli, you don't know what's helping you, and you don't know what's hurting you. It's all just brown sludge, blended bullshit. Don't get me wrong, MER is useful for answering things like, are we overspending relative to revenue? Is marketing efficiency improving or declining? And can the business afford to spend more overall? It's a financial efficiency metric, not a channel diagnostic tool. MER doesn't tell you if meta ads are profitable. It doesn't tell you if email is carrying the weight of the world. Your Klaviyo flows could be bringing in all the revenue, while your meta ads could be hemorrhaging cash. And that's dangerous, because MER blends everything into one pretty number that sounds useful. You can't diagnose with it, you can't optimize with it, and you definitely can't fix a broken channel with it. Now, an important distinction is I do use MER. I use it more as a health check. Is the business doing generally better or is it getting worse? But I can't tell you what inputs are working, which ones aren't, and where to apply the pressure. It's more of a 30,000 foot view. MER isn't evil, but treating MER as a steering wheel rather than the speedometer that it is where you're going to lose a lot of money. Then come the VC bros with LTV to CAC ratio, which is lifetime value divided by customer acquisition costs. So for a supplement company, let's say they have a greens powder. That greens powder generates around about a $40 average order value. Over the lifetime of that customer being with that business, they buy 4 times. So the LTV, lifetime value, is $160. So if it costs $20 to acquire that customer, our LTV to CAC ratio is 8. So for this product, for every $1 spent to acquire the customer, you get back $8 in lifetime revenue. Sounds amazing, right? And it is a powerful strategic concept, and it makes you think long-term, and investors love it. And if you have solid data behind your lifetime value, it can genuinely be a good indicator with the health of your business. But it has a fatal flaw which trips a lot of people up, and that's the payback period. An LTV to CAC ratio of 10 means fuck all if it takes you 5 years to get back the lifetime value, but you run out of cash in 3 months. So the real question isn't, what is our LTV to CAC ratio? It's if you spend $20, how quickly can I get that $20 back? If it's the same day, same month, same week, cool, your business is looking good. If it's 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, then you might have a financing problem, unless you've got very deep pockets. But if you're watching this video, it's likely you're more in the category 1. Ideally, you should aim to get your acquisition costs back within the first 30 days. Because if you can't get payback fast, your growth isn't scaling itself. You're borrowing from the future to survive today. So here's what actually matters for most brands that I work with. First, did we make money on the first sale, or at least break even? 2, how fast does that money come back in, and can we reinvest it? And then 3, only after steps 1 and 2, and if you've got big pockets as well, does LTV become a growth lever. LTV does not save a business that loses money on every sale. LTV amplifies businesses that are already making money. If your first purchase doesn't work and your payback period is too long, you're not scaling. You're floating on business optimism. LTV is a multiplier. Payback period is survival. Making money on that first sale is power. So that is the landscape. Let me just be clear with what I just showed you. ROAS, that is a revenue attribution metric. That's celebrating the strikers while firing the defense. CAC is a cost metric and is usually made up number. MER is a blended metric, but you don't want to be using that as a steering wheel. LTV to CAC ratio is a strategic projection on cash you haven't collected yet. None of them measure profit. None of them can answer, are our ads profitable? They are signals, they are indicators, they provide context, but they are not answers. And confusing indicators with outcomes is how you end up making growth decisions based on feelings rather than math. Every dollar of ad spend needs to justify itself with profit, and none of these metrics that we just went through can do that for you. So by this point, we should agree on something. If you try and derive business decisions based on metrics that don't measure profitability, then every conclusion built on top of that is flawed by definition. That is exactly how most businesses are operating. So if none of those metrics can actually answer, are our ads profitable? Well, actually can. All right. So I use a stack of core metrics. Each one of these has a very specific job and answers very specific questions. And they give me everything I need to run a profitable ad account. I'm not saying that these are the only metrics that exist, but these are the ones I found to be the most useful as an operator who's in the trenches day to day, running client accounts and executing. So before we talk about ads, before we talk about CPA, we talk about scaling and all that good, which we are going to talk about, we need to answer a brutally simple question. Is this product economically viable? Because if this product itself has broken unit economics, there's no amount of meta advertising that's going to save it. So here's the calculation. Contribution margin equals AOV minus COGS. And COGS means your true variable cost per order. So product unit costs, your packaging, your fulfillment, pick and pack, your shipping, storage, payment processing fees. That's optional, but you should probably include it. Not supplier only costs, not our margin is 65%. The actual money leaving your bank when the order ships. For our supplement example, so the greens, let's say average order value is $40. The cost of goods sold is $10. So that means $30 is the growth margin before ads. So this number answers two foundational things. The first one is this product even worth selling? Which hopefully you would have already answered that before going to market with it. And number two, which is most useful for you watching this video, what is the absolute maximum I can spend to acquire a customer and not lose money? Because if your contribution margin is $30, then a $30 CPA is break even. Anything above $30 loses money, anything below $30, you're making profit. So contribution margin defines your break-even CPA. It's not a target, it's a ceiling. So once we know if the product is viable, for day-to-day operations, I use profit per purchase, or PPP. Now, before I show the formula, a lot of the time, I have to work with the CFOs, the founders, or the ops managers, or the accountants to work out these numbers just so it's closer to the truth when we are looking to optimize and answer that question, are our ads profitable? Before I show the formula, I want to talk through the most abused input, and that is cost of goods sold. I don't use theoretical margins. I don't use supplier only costs. I calculate true variable cost per order. So for each product, I include the product unit cost, the packaging, fulfillment, pick and pack, the shipping, storage, and you can include the payment processing fees too. So this will give you a true unit cost per SKU. Then I do something simple. I take all the SKUs sold within the last month and I average them. Then once a month, I update this one number. So this becomes blended COGS per order. It's not perfect, it's not academically pure, but directionally correct. And most important, decision grade. Because Meta doesn't send you just one customer per one product SKU. Meta sends you people who might buy my hero product, buy a bundle, who might become a subscription, who might upsell, or buy something else. Trying to judge Meta on SKU level margins is a false precision. I don't care what they bought, I only care about one thing. Did the average order by Meta produce profit? So how do we define profit per purchase? So here's the formula. Profit per purchase, or PPP, Meta's AOV, minus the blended COGS that you just calculated above, minus the cost per acquisition. So let's run the numbers. So let's say the average order value in Meta is $40. Our blended COGS is $10. Our CPA is $15. So there we have 40 minus 10 minus 15. That equals 15. So that's $15 profit per purchase. So that's a real answer. That's not a feeling. That's not a dashboard color. That is a dollar denominated profit number. If PPP is positive, aka above zero, ads are profitable. If PPP is below zero, ads are unprofitable. End of discussion. Paid ads profitability is not an opinion. It is a unit economics calculation. So it begs the question, if profit per purchase, or if your PPP is positive, what's the fucking problem? If every customer that comes from Meta produces profit, Your ads are doing their job. Stop overcomplicating it. Stop looking at 17 different dashboards, 12 different attribution models, trying to find a problem that doesn't fucking exist. Positive PPP means ads are profitable. That's it. That's the whole number. Now a statistician would correctly point out, this is still an estimate. This is still based on Meta's attribution. Not everyone who clicks the thing being advertised buys the thing that's being advertised. They're right, but here's what actually matters. We are using business level average COGS. We are monitoring it weekly, we monitor it monthly, and this gives us a close enough representation of reality to make good decisions. They don't need to be perfect, they need to be decision grade. And PPP isn't just a profitability metric, it's a cash velocity metric. It tells you how fast you can turn $1 of ad spend into $1.50 in money in the bank. The faster that loop, the faster you can grow. Without raising capital, without loans, without praying. Which leads me directly to my next question. If we're making $15 profit per purchase, how much can we afford to spend to acquire one? And that's when we move into break even and buffer. So your contribution margin is $30. That means you can spend up to $30 to acquire a customer and not lose money. That's your break even. Over that, you're losing money. Under that, you're making money. Let's say your CPA is $15. That gives you $15 profit. Here, that's your buffer. That's your scaling room. This is how much worse things can get before you become unprofitable. So when someone asks, can we spend more? The answer isn't emotional. It's not ROAS based. It isn't a guess. It's how much profit per purchase are we actually making? If I'm making $15 profit per order, I can still push spend until that $15 disappears. So that's exact dollars and exact limits. So that answers question 2. Can I spend more? Yes, by $15 per purchase. Not probably, not we think so, not ROAS looks okay, maybe. Exact dollars and exact limits. And I'll show you later what you can do to protect this profit too. So third, for scaling decisions, many people use PSM or profitable scaling margin. So this is a big one and I need you to follow along closely with this one. PSM has been popularized recently and on the surface, it's incredibly appealing. It's positioned as an alternative metric to ROAS. It looks beyond that first purchase, it factors in COGS, and it understands the profitability of the entire lifetime value of the customer. PSM equals LTV divided by cost of goods sold plus CPA. The question it claims to answer is really simple. For every dollar I spend to acquire and serve a customer, how many dollars do I get back through the entire lifetime? So on one side, you have lifetime value. On the other side, you have the total cost to get and fulfill that customer's orders, represented by cost of goods sold and CPA. Where PPP tells you if you're making money today, PSM supposedly tells you what you can do next. So let me break this down. The theory here is it's all about predictability. The best way to scale meta ads is to have predictable inputs and predictable outputs. And to do that, what you want to do is pick a hero product. You find the SKU with the best margins and the highest repeat purchase rate, highest purchase cadence, highest AOV, and highest lifetime value. The idea is if you know the product's economics, you can more or less predict how that product will behave through the funnel and hit your bank account at the end. So let's run the numbers for a supplement brand. So back to the green. So we have AOV of $40. We have a CPA, $15. We have a lifetime value of $160. And let's say the cost of goods sold is $17. So the calculation goes something like this. So PSM equals 160 divided by 17 plus 15. That equals 5x. So if we know the front end economics, blended CPA, etc., we will know how that will behave through the funnel on the back end. So we know if we spend $15 to acquire a customer, with that product, that hero product, that's how it will behave through the funnel, and that's what we'll end up with in the back end, in our bank account. Based on this, you'd be like, wow, we've got so much room to scale. We can invest so much more. We can raise our CPA. We can go to the market, spend more to acquire a customer, and out-dominate and outperform our competition. It gives you confidence and gives you balls to spend aggressively. And that's the story, and it's a very seductive one. But here's where self-discovery happens when you actually try and use this in practice. So first problem is pretty straightforward. It only counts COGS once. But a customer placed 4 orders through the whole lifetime, but only counts COGS once. So let's say it costs us $17 to pack and produce and ship. So the real total cost of goods sold wasn't $17, it was $68. So let's run this again with real COGS. You can see here in the equation, we've updated those numbers to update the COGS times 4. Suddenly our 5x has evaporated to 2x. Now if you're trying to make a decision based on 5x, then you've already fucked up because straight away, just simple calculation error is actually 1.93. That's a monumental difference in profitability. And that comes from a simple undeniable error with how this is calculated to start with. The second is the myth of the hero product. The strategy says to use the hero product's inputs, but that's not actually what people buy. You can advertise the hero product all day, but when someone lands on your website, they have free reign to buy whatever they want and whatever products they want. They might buy a bundle, they might buy a prescription, they might buy an upsell. The idea is that you have a clean, stable input for LTV and COGS for that one SKU, but it doesn't hold up in real life practice. Therefore, the only real intellectual way to do this is to go, okay, well, let's use averages across the whole of the business. So average lifetime value, average purchase cadence, average COGS across all orders. This gives you a more realistic idea of what's actually happening. But even if we fix the COGS and use the blended averages, we run into even bigger problem. A problem that sits at the heart of this formula and renders it an unreliable way to use as a spending tool. So the third crack is a blended CPA and a reacquisition cost problem. So this is the real problem. The CPA that you get from Meta isn't just new customer acquisition. It is blended existing and new. It could be someone's second purchase, it could be their first one, it could be their sixth one. This creates a reacquisition problem in the buyer journey across this formula. So let's say purchase 1, they come from Meta, we spent to acquire them as a customer. Purchase 2, they purchase on their own accord, not through an ad, whatever it is. Purchase 3 comes from an email campaign, but purchase 4, they purchase again through Meta ads because we reprompted them to purchase again. PSM, as it's calculated, takes the LTV of all 4 purchases, but only accounts one CPA in the denominator to generate the customer's lifetime value. The true cost to Meta is actually greater than what's attributed, making the margin appear much larger than it actually is. This single issue breaks the formula's integrity. You are dividing a lifetime of value by a cost that doesn't represent the full investment required to generate that value. It's comparing apples to oranges, and the result is a dangerously inflated sense of profitability. So here's the conclusion that I've come to just from working through this and trying to find better ways to, grow. Use PSM as a temperature check, a bit like MER, but not a fucking steering wheel. So where does that leave us? So with PSM, it's built on a foundation of flawed inputs. Incorrect COGS, it systematically undercounts fulfillment costs. The hero product is a strategic tool, not a clean mathematical input. And 3, blended CPA. It's not true customer acquisition cost, and it hides that reacquisition problem. And because of these issues, PSM cannot be that clean, authoritative tool that many claim it to be. So using it more of a temperature check. So if it's trending up, great, the system looks like it's improving, great stuff. If it's trending downwards, then something must be wrong, it's time to investigate. That's it, it's more of a compass rather than a roadmap. The truth is, you don't need PSM. You need to understand the principle that PSM is trying and somewhat failing to represent. That back-end strength increases front-end buffer over time. That's not a metric, that's a compounding principle. Think about it. If you improve your repeat purchase rate, your blended AOV will rise. As AOV rises, your COGS as a percentage decreases. This improves your overall contribution margin. The higher the contribution margin, that expands your break-even CPA and then gives you more room as a buffer. You don't need a fuzzy ratio like PSM to tell you that. You just need to focus on strengthening the business fundamentals. And those are the metrics we've already established. PPP, break-even CPA, and buffer. And they're the ones that are directionally tied to your bank account and cash flow. Those are the ones that provide discipline and clarity that you need to make real-world spending decisions. PPP is a daily truth for your bank account. Break-even CPA is the absolute ceiling. And the buffer is real-time scaling room. And PSM is a fuzzy health check. And check your damn P&L. So now you've got the system, let me show you how this actually works in real life. Individually, these numbers are useful, but together they are an operating system. Operating systems don't guess, they compute. So here we have an average order value of $40. We have a blended COGS of $17 and a meta CPA of $15. So first we want to work out contribution margin. So $14 minus $17 equals $23. That means our break-even CPA is $23. This is the absolute maximum we can spend and not lose money. Okay, next is profit per purchase or PPP. Okay, so we have $40 minus $17 minus $15 equals $8. So now we can answer that first question. Are our ads profitable? Yes, by $8 per purchase. So answering the second question, can we spend more? So our break-even CPA is $23. Our current CPA is $15. So our buffer is $8. That means performance can get $8 worse per acquisition before we start losing money. So technically, this is your scaling route. So now you want to put a guardrail in place, a safety margin, if you will. So I typically use 10-20% below break-even CPA as the safety margin. So in this case, if our break-even is $23, $23 times 0.15 equals $3.45. Okay, so we can take our break-even CPA, $23, I'm going to minus $3.45. That equals $19.55. So that's our real operating limit. That way the system always has some scaling breathing room and protecting your profit margin. So now scaling isn't let's just increase spend and pray that this works. Scaling is increase spend, watch CPA, watch PPP. As long as PPP stays positive and CPA stays below your guardrail, keep pushing. When profit per purchase gets close to zero or your guardrail, you stop. That's it. That's the whole operating system. Nice and simple. Contribution margin gives you the ceiling. PPP tells you how much money you're making right now. The buffer tells you how much room you've got within that ceiling, and then the guardrail protects you from, almost bumping your head. Everything else is secondary. So here's the nuance. Customers may buy, 1, 2, 3, 4, even 5 times more, and that's amazing. But repeat purchase revenue that you haven't collected yet does not give you the permission to spend today, unless you have a lot of data and very deep pockets. But what repeat revenue does is strengthens your business over time. It can improve your blended AOV, improves overall contribution margin, and expands your future buffer. It does not replace PPP. PPP pays the bills, lifetime value compounds your business. Well, that's the hierarchy that I found to be most useful. So let me ask you something. Right now, nobody knows whether the ads are profitable because profit per purchase isn't being calculated. They're using the wrong metrics to answer the wrong questions. So everything else built on top is a load of shit. Everything is derived from that number. Break-even CPA, buffer, scaling decisions, all of it. Which raises the question, if this metric isn't being used, how is someone optimizing your ad account? If you or your agency isn't optimizing for profit per purchase, then what are they optimizing for? They're trying to measure profit with metrics that measure attribution, not profitability, because math is math. So a little rule for profitability, as just someone who operates. So for businesses, especially those under 500K per month, the safest and most scalable position to be in is to be profitable on that first purchase. However, this is not the only way. The best businesses in the world are willing to take a front-end loss, provided they have 2 things, cash flow and data. So if you have a robust, predictable cohort of data showing a high second purchase rate within a short time frame, 30 to 60 days, and you have the cash reserves to float that initial loss, then you can strategically aim for that kind of 30-day payback period rather than having to be profitable on that first purchase. This means you're willing to lose money on purchase 1 because purchase 2 comes back within a very short time period. And this is advanced strategy and requires deep understanding of your unit economics and solid data. For most, I would say the rule would stand, first purchase profitability. Once that is stable and predictable, then you can look at more advanced strategies like 30-day payback period and things like that. But until then, profit per purchase is your daily truth, and a positive PPP is your license to scale. Now, people ask me, okay, what about new versus existing customers? Great question. Well, paid ads are bought with one budget. The business writes one check to Meta. So the first question must be, for every $1 we spend, do we get back more than we put in? If blended profit per purchase is positive, ads are not the problem. Optimization is optimal, not existential. If the blended profit per purchase is negative, then it doesn't matter where the money is coming in from, the system is broken. So imagine for new customers, their profit per purchase is, let's say, minus $5. but for existing customers, it's $30. So blended is positive. So what does this mean? It means that the ad system is profitable. So the fix is reallocation, not shutdown. Killing spend because new is unprofitable would be an error. So now flip it. If new customers are minus $10 and existing are minus $5, then the whole system is unprofitable from the get-go, regardless of the segmentation. So the blended number is positive. What's the fucking problem? I understand the instinct, existing customers should be free, but respectfully, that's a psychological objection, not a data one. If every $7 spent generates $27, then you're winning. Repeat customers are not free, they never are. If you look at the biggest companies, Starbucks, Tesla, Nike, they all spend to acquire customers again. The only reason to stop spend is when that spend becomes unprofitable, not because customers should come back for free. The correct model to look at this is marginal profitability per dollar deployed. Every dollar that returns more than it costs equals more room for scale. New customer revenue can be expensive. Existing customer revenue is cheap. The fact that you can be profitable in both is literally a dream scenario. Maybe look at it this way. You're not paying to get someone back. You're spending $7 to make $27. So surely the rule should be stop spending when the spend becomes unprofitable, not before. And while we're here, let's address the elephant in the room, attribution. So people try and go to attribution channels and all this shit. Multi-touch attribution, first click, last click, linear, time decay, data-driven, high ROAS, retract, north beam, custom attribution models. Just stop. Here's the truth nobody wants to hear. Multi-touch attribution is fundamentally flawed. The only true way to measure incrementality is through controlled experiments like hold-out geo-tests, where you hold out testing ads in one location and then you test and compare results. And unless you're doing these tests properly, spending enough to get a statistically significant result, which most of you aren't, you're not going to solve attribution. So stop trying to. It's a problem the biggest companies in the world are still trying to solve. Teams of data scientists with millions of dollars and lots of analytics are still trying to solve this. And you think you're going to solve it with your $200 per month SaaS subscription to your attribution channel software that uses a custom attribution model. It's not going to happen, and more importantly, you don't need it to. Here's the framework I found to be most useful. 2 tiers, and I found this works. So tier 1 is your business level metrics, your single source of truth. So your bank account, your P&L, and actually what it says in your Shopify store. This is actually what happened, no attribution models. No software can argue with what's in your bank. So level 2 are the channel level metrics. So you have your Meta, your Google, your TikTok, your Klaviyo, your email, and they all have their own directional signals. They tell you roughly what happened with each channel, and they will never perfectly match your tier 1 numbers. So let's say Meta said 100K per month, Google said 98K per month, TikTok said 75K, Klaviyo then claimed 150K, whatever it may be. And you try and add all these numbers up and then try and match it with your Shopify numbers. And guess what? They don't match up, and they never will. So stop trying to reconcile them. It's a fool's errand. Use your tier 1 business level metrics as, are we profitable? Are we growing? And then use your tier 2 as directional level signals. Although the attribution isn't perfect, the data in there is consistent. Then each channel is consistent. Therefore, it can be used as directional. If you're spending under 250K per month in marketing spend, then trying to fix this attribution problem is just a waste of time and money. And honestly, below this, the complexity adds 0 value. It just gives you more numbers to argue about in a meeting room, while your actual business number tell you everything you need to know. And like I said, if you're spending under 250K per month, then it's very likely you haven't even scratched the surface of the whole addressable market. So going like, oh yeah, we've saturated that channel, it's absolute bullshit. You already know the main channel's bringing in the revenue, you can feel it, and the data confirms it directionally. So stop trying to prove it to the 3rd decimal place and go and make some money. And this one annoys the fuck out of me as well. People trying to solve the problem of, okay, well, we don't know what touch point brought them back. It's hard to be 100%. That one singular touch point that brought them back, guess what? It doesn't fucking exist. Here's the thing, we'll never be able to isolate one single touch point because it's multiple touch points across multiple channels that all work together to then lead to them buying. So there isn't a single truth here to discover. In analytics, this is called a false precision problem. you're trying to find a truth in a system which doesn't empirically exist. And when we try and force certainty in the system, we end up just feeding our own bias rather than getting closer to reality. So here's a classic customer journey. So day one, they see an Instagram story ad. They just scroll on by. Day two, they're scrolling TikTok. They see a video, they half watch it, don't click through to your website. Day three, they get an email. They see the subject line. They don't read the email. They scroll on by. The next day, they're on Facebook. They're scrolling down and they see an ad. They click through to the website. Then they're back on TikTok 4 days later and they see an ad. They watch their way through it. They click through again to the product. They scroll on the website a little bit more. They bugger off. They go through to email the next day and they get email saying back in stock. They scroll through, click through, and then they purchase. So which touch point brought them back? Because Meta would take contribution and credit, TikTok would take credit, and Klaviyo would take credit. The truth is, all of them work together. The purchase wouldn't have happened without the cumulative effect of those 8 to 10 touch points over 3 to 4 channels over 16 days, for instance. So no matter how good your attribution platform is, it's trying to solve a problem which is impossible to solve in the fucking first place. So when you're searching for truth, you're gonna be chasing your tail because that truth doesn't fucking exist. And we don't need attribution certainty to scale, we need unit economics. If your profit per purchase is healthy on Meta and your business P&L is fucking healthy, what is the problem? Stop trying to answer 1,000 questions extremely poorly and just answer the ones that matter extremely well. Or you'll end up a busy bell end. Simplicity scales, complexity fails. Right, metrics sorted. You know what to measure and what to ignore. Now we need to look into why most ads break at scale. Now I'm going to challenge what most industry takes as gospel. The marketing funnel. TOFU, MOFU, BOFU. Top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. As just mentioned, the customer journey isn't this neat little journey they go through. This little phase, then this phase, then this phase. It's more like a pinball. They bounce all over the place, you know. So that's the journey. It's messy, it's non-linear. So when someone says let's build a little TOFU, MOFU, BOFU funnel and try and impose order on chaos, the algorithm doesn't work like that. The Meta AI is better at figuring out who needs to see what and when, better than any media buyer ever could. So you don't need this neat little funnel. What you actually need is creative diversity. Different types of content and speaking to different types of buyers and people at different stages of the buying journey. All living in the same campaign, letting the algorithm pick the right ad for the right person at the right time and do the heavy lifting for you. Now, before we talk about making these ads, we want to talk about, okay, where do these ideas come from? How can we get the right message, the right person at the right time and those right psychological beats to get someone to purchase from you? Because most people skip this step and they wonder why their ads aren't getting the sales and why the content isn't resonating with their target audience. So you need to find out actually what your customers want and how they talk about their problems in their own voice. And then just hold up a mirror and reflect that back to them essentially. So number one, go to Amazon reviews, find similar products or competitors, go through their 5-star reviews. This finds out exactly what they love and liked about the product. 1-star reviews, what they disliked. Both are a treasure chest of ideas and angles and concepts. Next, go to Reddit forums and have a look through what people are talking about, the problems they're experiencing, the questions they're asking, and then the answers that have come up and which ones have been boosted. Those ones that have been boosted, they're likely a good answer that people have asked and are responding to. So use both to get different angles, different hooks, and identify the language, how people are talking about the problems they're experiencing in their lives. Next one is your own support tickets, the things people are struggling with, they don't like, what they do like, and then emphasizing those things. Questions people are, on social media, what they're commenting on your post, asking questions about. Look through even ads, what questions people are asking. That is a massive content library in itself, just replying to questions on video. And also looking at your own customer reviews. What are those 5-star reviews? What are people saying about your product, what they loved? Again, take that and put that in front of people. Next, you want to check out competitors' ads. This will give you more angles, hooks, the type of creative that's working. So go on things like Meta Ads Library and scroll through your competitors' ads, see which ones have been running for a long period of time. They're typically the ads and hooks that are working well for your competitor. Mimic these, model them, make them better. Go on Ads Transparency Center for Google. See what ads your competitors are running on Google, the copy, the headlines, the descriptions, that type of thing, and then mimic them, model them, make them better. Go to TikTok Creative Center. They literally give you everything you need. Scripts, videos, all from the highest performing videos on TikTok. Model these, find the angles and hooks, and create your own. And again, if you're scrolling your own social feeds and you see competitors' ads, look at the comments and see what people are saying about it, what they like, dislike, the questions they're asking. Again, these are all different hooks and things you can use for concepts for your own ads. Or use AI to do the heavy lifting for you. Tell Manus.ai or something like that to go to Reddit and scrape all the forums around these keywords, these topics, these questions, and compile a big list of the kind of questions, pain points, problems people are experiencing, and put it in a nice little competitor analysis document for you. And then maybe add an extra layer to this and say, hey, I want you to categorize it into core concepts that these reviews are talking about. And then within those core concepts, come up with 10 to 20 different hooks and questions that these people are asking. This forms the basis of kind of your ad concepts and also the copywriting and language that you need to be communicating with the customers to get them to then respond positively to the message you're putting out there. So the goal here is to understand the problem the product solves, especially for cold audiences. The goal here is to understand the problem your product solves, how that problem shows up in your audience's lives, and the language they use to describe that problem and pain points. Then all you do is take that language, put it in your ads, keep it simple as fuck, and put it in front of your audience. Allow them to self-identify with it. And think of the concept and beats your audience or customers need to go through to then become a purchase. So this is where great ads come from. It's not from a boardroom meeting, it's from the customer's mouth. And this is where creative diversity comes in. And this concept I found to be incredibly useful. If you only use one type of content, let's say UGC content, you will only ever reach a fraction of your audience because people consume content differently. A video reaches a video watcher. A static image reaches a researcher. A UGC testimonial may reach a skeptic. A polished brand ad may reach a premium buyer. Each ad format and each concept is a different fishing net. You want to use multiple nets to catch the entire ocean. So when creating ads, I found these 5 core concepts to cover most of what you need to create those fishing nets. So the first concept is use UGC testimonials or UGC style ads. So UGC is one concept. You can have 100 UGC ads, but that's still one concept. With UGC testimonials, ideally you want real customers with real results. So for a supplement brand, it might be, okay, they're using a greens powder and they're making it in the morning and they're just talking about, their experience with it and how amazing they felt after 30 days. So number 2 is product demos, showing the product in use. So the packaging, the mixture, the texture, the colors, people want to see what they're buying. So number 3 is problem-aware content. So this is a big one people miss. As mentioned before, you want to talk around the problems that show up in the person's life. So this is not our greens has 52 superfoods in it. It's that 3 p.m. crash where you can barely keep your eyes open? Yeah, that's not normal. That's your body screaming for nutrients. So you want to meet them where they're at. You want to speak to the pain and problems they're facing before introducing the solution. 4 static objection handlers. So this could be a simple image with text or callouts addressing a common objection. Tastes like grass? Yeah, we fixed that. So these ones are really underrated and they work really, really well. So this is where your customer research really pays off. Use all of those and find those little objections and overcome them. So next concept is just social proof statistics. So things like join 5,000 happy customers, or 70% of our customers experienced XYZ in XYZ days. So this one is simple, it's powerful, and it builds trust. And if you're stuck for ideas for the creative side of things, for video and static images and things like that, that's where you can go to TikTok Creative Center or Meta Ads Library, or go to websites like Foreplay or Butter, and you get an idea of what ads your competitors or people outside your industry are running that are working really, really well. And you can get some creative concepts and ideas for that creative to bring that concept to life. Because if your competitor is spending on it and has spent a lot of money on it over a long period of time, it's likely it works. So campaign structure, let's get into this. So we're going to set this up stupidly simple because it fucking works. We're going to have one campaign, one ad set. We're going to go broad in the ad set and we're going to set the campaign to campaign budget optimization. We're going to load 3 to 5 of your best concepts that you came up with earlier. So UGC, product demos, problem-aware content, objection handlers, or whatever concepts you want to load in there, then you're going to have 2 primary headlines and 2 body copies. This will give that ad concept enough different combinations for the algorithm to work out what is best. So do that, repeat for each of your concepts. And that's it. That's the whole setup. So you can scale all the way up to 5K ad spend per day just using this simple structure. So we're going to use a hero product. Now let's get into the targeting. In 2026, I found what works best is just going broad. No interest stacking, no lookalikes, just broad, and let the algorithm do the work for you. So what broad targeting means, it's not everyone, it's optimized anyone. It's meta allowed to optimize without your restrictions. So that's actually smarter targeting. It's not lazy. And what you'll find is lower CPMs, faster learning, and a constant refresh of a new pool of audiences. And the best time to use it is when you have proven creative, a seasoned pixel, and all your conversion events are set up correctly. Broad targeting doesn't fix bad ads, it scales great ones. Broad targeting works fantastic when your system does. Give the system clear space and signals and you will be rewarded. So the best way to think about it this way is Meta is better at finding your customers than you are guessing where they might be. Here's a controversial take which I found to be true. Do not exclude existing customers from your targeting. When you exclude your existing customers from your targeting, what you're essentially doing is you're blocking the most valuable signal Meta needs to optimize and find you the best people. By excluding customers, you're teaching Meta with incomplete data. If you're training a new salesperson to understand your ideal customer, would you hide all examples of what an ideal customer is and looks like from them? No, because that's insane. But that's exactly what exclusions do. And here's the thing, Andromeda and the Meta algorithm is smart enough to understand purchase history. And it won't waste money on existing customers if you give it correct signals. The algorithm will naturally prioritize finding you new customers while learning from the existing customer signals. At the end of the day, exclusions hide data, the algorithm learns slower, and you get worse results. When you give it complete data plus value signals, the algorithm learns faster, you get better performance and more new customers. Now, a word on Advantage Plus shopping campaigns. So I found ASC campaigns to work incredibly well with brands with a lot of data and proven concepts and creative. So on the targeting level, on the ad set level, let everything ASC. And then on the creative level, I would switch off things like, add the music and the bullshit. Use ASC for your proven winners, your hero product, your evergreen offers, the stuff that you know converts. For new product launch and testing new angles and things like that, then more of a manual intervention sometimes works better. ASC is a sledgehammer, but sometimes you need a scalpel, so you just need to choose the right tool for the job. Before we move on, we need to talk about your pixel because this is the foundation for everything. So if your pixel isn't set up, then everything I've taught you so far is just going to go down the pan and be useless. So you want to make sure that your pixel is tracking purchases, add to carts, and page views as a bare minimum. Now, there are 2 roads that travel to your pixel. So road 1 is the pixel browser side. This fires when someone lands on your website and sends data through the browser. The problem is browsers are getting stricter. Sometimes Safari blocks it. iOS broke chunks of it. Ad blockers kill it, which gives you a fuzzy view. And road 2, conversion API or CAPI. And this is server side. So server sends over first party data, things like emails, phone numbers, conversion value, all through to Meta server. No browser involved, no cookies involved, just nice clear vision. So you need both. And here's why. So think of it a bit like a crime scene with 2 witnesses. Witness A says, yep, it was a woman in her 30s, she had glasses and ginger curly hair. Witness 2 goes, yes, it was a Honda Civic, black car, license plate, blah, 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 blah. So you've got 2 witnesses. It provides a fuller view of the crime scene of what actually happened. So this is the same way. Okay, so you've got your server side tracking alongside your browser. It just provides a more detailed input of actually what's going on, and it gives Meta more data for it to optimize. Meta deduplicates automatically, so you're not going to count the conversion twice. It uses the same conversion ID. So with 2 witnesses, 1 crime, better data, better optimization. So your Metapixel and Cappy out of the box for Shopify works okay for most people. So I'd say, when you're doing over 10K per month in revenue in Meta, that's when I would look at maybe a detailed tool like ROAS or Triple Whale or something like this, or just one that sends data regularly. It will give you more granular server-side data, better matching at better frequency, better data, and more control. But until then, Shopify native and your Metapixel will work okay. Just make sure both roads are active. Okay, now you've got everything set up. You're creative, you're targeting, your concepts. You know what your profit per purchase is, what your break even, your buffer, and your guardrails are. Now you let Meta do the fucking work for you and bring in sales. But then you need to know how to actually manage the account and how and what to look at and how to optimize things. Which brings me to the next point, when to add new creative. So you want to test when your current system hits a ceiling, when you can't scale anymore with what you currently have, or when you've identified a weak link in the system. That's it. Not every week, not because you feel like it, not because you feel like the creative needs a creative refresh because it's a little bit old, not because you saw someone else's ad and you thought that'd be good. You want to test strategically, not constantly. And when you do test, do it scientifically and improve the weakest link in your system. Don't just blow the whole thing up and start over, which I see accounts do all the fucking time. Give it proper time to gather data and then make decisions based on numbers, not feelings. Emotion has no room in the ad account. They have one day where the CPA is slightly higher, and then they panic. They start changing things, adding new creative, turning things off, increasing or decreasing budget. That's not strategy. That's anxiety with a credit card. You want to use data, wait for the correct sample sizes, look at 7-day windows, not hourly fluctuations. The algorithm needs time, give it time. I never understood this. Old isn't a metric. It's not a variable to use to decide whether you change ads. If anything, one thing I look at when looking at ads is, okay, well, this person has launched 60 new ads in the past month and only has one ad running from a month ago. That tells me they don't have a system that is working. Because if you did, you can run ads 6 months, 8 months, 10 months, even a year, and they still produce predictable results. So if anything, the less new ads you have, the more of a fucking flex it is. Because you've built a system which is fucking strong, predictable, and scalable. You don't stop playing Bohemian Rhapsody on the radio because it's 40 years old. You stop playing when people stop singing. If the ad is still profitable, then why would you turn it off? And this idea of test is a dumbass game from 2015. Let me talk a little bit more about creative testing because it's the biggest scam in the industry and nobody's talking about it. Here's the cycle. You hire an agency. They optimize ads for the biggest ROAS, your retargeting ads. Those ads have high ROAS, 3, 5, even 12 ROAS. They look amazing on paper. Everybody's celebrating. But the thing is, you can't scale retargeting ads. You can't scale to your existing audience because the audience pool is small. That high ROAS ad is no longer getting the conversions. Then the agency comes back to you and say, we need more creative. We need to test more. We've got creative fatigue. Then you say, okay, well, how much is it going to cost? And then they sell you a creative package for more ad variations and creative, which then costs more money to spend and test. They're selling you a solution to a problem they created, the test solution. And the real reason agency push this more creative testing narrative is because they're optimizing, looking at the wrong metrics. So the only lever they know how to pull is more creative, and you pay for it. If every ad in your ad account is less than 30 days old, that's not a testing strategy. That's a treadmill. You're running as fast as you fucking can, and you're going nowhere. Now, do I test? Yeah, obviously, but I do it scientifically. I do it very specifically based on data. Each test has a clear hypothesis. Each test changes one thing that actually matters. Each test gets enough time and budget to reach statistical significance to then base a decision. That's testing, not launch 50 different variations of ad with a slightly different color and button and slightly different font call out. That's not testing, that's noise. And when your fundamentals are right, you've got your one hero product, your unit economics are solid, your profit per purchase is positive, your pixel is feeding Meta a clear signal and data, and your creative speaks to real customers and their pain points. You don't need 50 new ads a week. You need a handful of winners and you want to let them run. And when you do test, you test with intention. Enough budget, enough time. Stop letting agencies sell you a treadmill and tell you a strategy. So your campaign's running, maybe it's working, maybe it isn't, maybe you have no idea. But deciding with what to do with an ad is actually very simple. Two numbers tell you more or less everything you need to know to optimize your ad account. Profit per purchase and frequency. Profit per purchase tells you whether the ad should live, whereas frequency tells you if the audience is exhausted. Together, they determine 3 actions: either leave it, fix it, or kill it. So what I like to do is organize my ads in a 2x2 grid. You have CPA on one axis and profit per purchase on the other. But the most important line in this matrix is profit per purchase equals 0. Are we making or losing money? So you plot the ads on the line and you assign labels. So low CPA, high profit per purchase, these are your winners. They are cheap to acquire and profitable to run. These are your money printers. Do not touch them. If the ad has been profitable for 6 months, that's 6 months of compounded learning inside the algorithm. Let it run. Then you have high CPA, high profit per purchase. These are your optimizers. These ads are still profitable, but just expensive, which means the concept works great. You're making money still, but the efficiency could be better. So the goal here isn't to kill the ad. The goal here is to optimize it. And that's what frequency tells you to do next. Then have low CPA, negative profit per purchase. These are your fake wins. And these are dangerous because they look good in the dashboard, you'll get conversions, and the CPA is low, but you're also losing money. These are the ads that are quietly draining your bank account. They have high CPA, low PPP. These are your liabilities. These are the worst of the bunch. These are expensive to acquire and they're losing money. But even then, don't kill the ads immediately because sometimes the concept is still worth saving. That's where we go to step number 2. So once you've sorted your ads into a matrix, you look at the next number, which is frequency. Daily frequency tells you whether the ad is reaching new audiences or repeatedly the same people. A frequency closer to 1 is usually a prospecting ad. New audience, fresh eyeballs. A daily frequency around 2 usually means it's more of a retargeting ad, or it could mean that audience is getting saturated. That ad is being shown to the people again and again. And that changes your next step decision drastically. What you do now is combine a 2x2 matrix with a layer of frequency. So your winners, don't touch them. They are cheap and they are profitable. Leave them alone and let them compound. Your optimizers with low frequency. This means they're a prospecting ad, but they're expensive. The concept works. The creative just needs improving. So add new variations of that same concept, new hooks, angles, videos, you name it. But keep the concept the same. Load them in and let the algorithm determine the best ones. CPA should come down. Optimizers with high frequency. These are usually profitable retargeting ads. The audience is small. You can let these run for cash flow, but if you want more scale, you probably have to introduce a new concept to reach new people. Then you have fake wins with low frequency. Cheap reach, new people, but the ad isn't converting profitably. Fake wins with high frequency. Cheap CPA, but you're still losing money. Liabilities with low frequency. This is the one most people will kill straight away, but it tells you it's going out to cold audiences. It's more top of the funnel, which means the concept still may have legs. Maybe give the concept one more chance, but with better execution. And liabilities with high frequency. Expensive, unprofitable, audience exhausted, kill it. I kind of tend to use a rule which is pretty simple. Only kill an ad when 2 things are true. The economics are bad and the audience is done. Everything else either gets left alone, scaled, or optimized. So the simplest way to remember this model is profit per purchase tells you whether an ad should live. Frequency tells you how much room it has left. Together, they tell you whether to leave it, fix it, or kill it. If your agency can't walk you through something like this and tell you the full picture of what's going on with your ad account, and they just send you a dashboard of ROAS and link clicks, now you know why it's not working. So now we've got the campaign set up, we've got the creative, everything. We know how to optimize and look at things. Now, how do we scale this mother trucker to the moon? So you're gonna wait for a 7-day window of stable data. Now, because you've got your PPP, your break-even CPA, your buffer, and your guide rails for scaling CPA. All of them are directional signals, but they feed into those 2 questions. Are ads profitable? If yes, cool. Can we spend more? Yes. If those two questions are answered, then we're going to scale it. We're going to set some automatic rules that on a Monday, a Wednesday, and a Friday, we're going to increase budget by 5%. Big budget swings up or down throws out their algorithm, and the algorithm's like, what the fuck is going on? So what I found works best is on a Monday, a Wednesday, and a Friday, we just put a conservative 5% budget increase if it hits our metrics. It's methodical and predictable. It just lets the algorithm adjust without shocking the system. If the answer to those questions is no, then you know now how to diagnose a system. And you keep doing this till you're about 5K per day in ad spend. So I've personally scaled ad accounts to this level just with this simple campaign structure without adding any more complexity. When you start pushing more than 5K ad spend per day, that's when you can introduce more ad sets with different creative tests and then see if that improves the overall system or destabilizes the system, and just be very methodical with how you test. But that's for another video. But here's the thing no one talks about too. When you're working with e-commerce, so things like customer support can't keep up, inventory runs out, returns spike because quality drops or whatever it may be. So I call this operational drag. And you need a feedback loop between the marketing and ops to make sure that this doesn't happen. The ads are the gas pedal, but you cannot accelerate if the engine is broken. So each phase of the business, you need to find out, okay, where is the throughput blocked that's stopping the scale? So whatever that feedback loop needs to be, it needs to be worked on so you can accelerate and fix that throughput of marketing, and then the ops and delivery of the product. Otherwise, you'll hit a fucking wall, and it's annoying. So we're coming to a close. Once your front end is set up and it's running and it's humming and you're acquiring new customers and your profit purchase is positive and you're scaling effectively and predictably, the long-term enterprise value comes on the back end. Your emails, your organic social, your upsells, your cross-sells, your bundles, your subscriptions. Their job isn't to just do marketing. Their job is to systematically improve the core metrics that fuel the growth system. Specifically, I would say the big swing, the big thing you can do to really make an impact through the whole business is improve the second purchase rate. Can we get someone to purchase a second time after they first purchase? If you increase that second purchase rate across the business, that's a big chunk of change on the back end that compounds. Second is purchase frequency, how often they buy from you. If you can compress that time frame, your cash flow is going to look so much healthier. But sometimes with purchase frequency, it's a psychological aspect you need to tackle. How do you get your customers to change their habits so that they consume the product more? Another one is average order value. What bundles and things can you do, stacking, upsells, cross-sells, to increase the overall average order value? If you can go from average order value, let's say it's $40 to $50, that's a 25% increase in revenue on every single transaction. So think of it this way, it's not just one big thing that you change, it's a lot of small optimization points that compound into a big amount over time without too much effort. So it's almost like, how can we tackle this one, then tackle this one, then tackle this one, pick them, execute, and reap the rewards on the back end. So as your blended AOV increases, so does your LTV, and your overall contribution margin gets healthier too, as you can buy more stock at a cheaper price. And a higher contribution margin means a higher breakeven CPA, which means you can be more aggressive even on the front end marketing. So this is a flywheel. The front end acquires, the back end compounds the value, and in doing so, gives the front end more power to acquire. And that's a real sustainable scaling machine. So thank you for watching this. And personally, this is the system I use, and it's helped me go from chaos to clarity, from complexity to simplicity, and to scaling, and ultimately better results for my clients. So just a real quick overview. So you've got everything you need to take home. So your profit per purchase, it tells you whether your ads are profitable today. This is the daily truth. Your break-even CPA decides how much you can spend and still be profitable. And this is derived from your contribution margin. The buffer is the gap between your current CPA and your break-even CPA. This is your real scaling room. And then your guardrails are just in place, so you've got more room for profitability. Right now, nobody knows whether the ads are profitable because profit per purchase is not being calculated. People use the wrong metrics to answer the wrong questions. Then we use the campaign structure. So one campaign budget optimization, broad targeting, one ad set, and then 3 to 5 concepts with 3 creatives, 2 headline, 2 primary texts. Audit the account using the 2x2 framework and diagnose with frequency, and then make changes accordingly, whether to leave it, fix it, or kill it. Every dollar of ad spend needs to justify itself with profit. If it does, then we scale it. If it doesn't, then we fix it. And then we scale it once it's working on a Monday, a Wednesday, and a Friday by a 5% budget increase if it hits our core CPA metrics. And then we just, on the back end, use email, organic socials, everything we can to increase second purchase rate, purchase cadence, and lifetime value, and create that systematic flywheel. And the main thing is keeping things simple and scaling with simplicity. So this is what I found to be incredibly useful. I hope you found this useful too. And I hope this gives you more clarity and confidence when it comes to scaling your meta ads with how to approach it and how to approach feeling. I feel when I first come across this and discovered this way of working, it just feels lighter. It feels clearer, and you can execute a lot more with precision. So you have a choice now. Option 1, watch this video again, work for your own pace and crack on. Option 2 is there should be a link around here for a downloadable digital guide. Think of it as a cheat sheet for everything we just covered. And if you're a brand spending over $10,000 per month in meta ad spend and you want me to look and audit your account with you, hold your hand and show you exactly what we can do together to scale it, then there should be a button around this video that you can press to book a call, and we'll go through and audit the account together. So free video, guide, or I personally help and audit your account for you. I hope this has been helpful. If it was, please subscribe. I will be dropping more videos like this on a weekly basis covering more in-depth topics. Thanks for watching, and go make some bread.